Hi, everyone. I'm Kelcy Skolnick, the founder and head chef at Chef Kelcy, formerly known as Cooking with Kelcy. I'm super excited and proud to be here tonight, and I can't wait to share my journey with all of you. So, how did I get here? Oh, there we go. For me, my journey started when I was about 2 years old and big enough to stand at the counter with my mom and help her make dinner, and evolved into a childhood spent cooking in the kitchen with the guidance of my mom and my grandmother. It wasn't until I got to college that I realized my upbringing wasn't normal. For me, cooking was second nature, and most that's not the case. As I continued into adulthood, it's a theme I saw again and again, and it wasn't until my first nanny job that a seed of an idea began to form. My nanny kids loved being in the kitchen with me, and so I was curious what would happen if I cultivated that the way my family did with me. By the time I left 5 years later, they went from licking the frosting off a spoon to rolling their own pasta. And now, age 13 and 15, you can find them in the kitchen whipping up cupcakes or bolognese sauce just because they feel bored. From there, my thirst to teach others grew. I volunteered with Mill City Grows on their farm to table cooking classes. I ran my own cooking classes out of Mill Number 5 with Claire from Over the Spoon, who's an EforAll alum. I even went out to California as a top 60 out of over 10,000 people that auditioned for MasterChef, hoping that I could learn as much as I could to pass on to my community members. All along, I had this idea about creating a business around food education and knew I wanted to take it somewhere. So I decided to apply for EforAll, and spoiler alert, I got in. So obviously, I joined the program because I wanted to learn how to run a business, but broken down a little more, there were some goals I wanted to set. I wanted to identify my customers and what they would pay, establish an online presence since I am an online business, and successfully host a cooking class. I'm happy to say not only did I successfully host it, but I sold it out at 12 seats in just 17 days. I'm going to start with my value proposition. So this was a bit of a journey for me. When I first came to the program, I had this idea of figuring out a safe way to do small classes in people's homes and working with teens online. And through talking to my customers and doing the program, I really quickly realized it actually wasn't a viable option. So I knew it was time to pivot. After taking some time to think, it became clear to me that Chef Kelsey's real customers was adults looking for a fun and engaging cooking experience where they can expand their knowledge around food and gain skills in the kitchen, all while participating in an immersive digital event. I do this by offering public classes, private group classes, homeowners association and other association classes, along with corporate team building events. So now that I've got all that figured out, I actually have to make sure people want it. So I conducted a survey. I got over 80 responses, and out of them, all of my responses, over 90% said that they would be interested in the cooking class. And they also said they'd be willing to pay around $40 for a class, which is great because that's exactly where I wanted to set my price point. So to validate this, I held a cooking class. I did all the marketing and all of that. And it was extraordinary. Like I said, I sold it out in 17 days, $40 a person. And I think the thing that was so amazing about it was I couldn't believe how engaging the whole experience was for everyone involved. And I was so proud of my clients because they were making some super technically difficult food and they literally all nailed it. And it was awesome. I got feedback in my post class survey, and they mentioned how much they loved the no dumb question atmosphere and how engaging it was for a digital class. I also found out that everyone found it valuable, with half finding it extremely valuable. So that's really gratifying. I heard back from one of my clients recently saying that they had made the whole menu again and it came out perfectly and that they just wanted to thank me. And that was really the moment for me where it all clicked. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is why I do this. This is how I can make a difference in their life. So, how did I sell out this class? I owe a lot of that to the establishment of my online presence. For starters, I set up an Eventbrite account. I put my event on that platform, and I wanted to make sure that my class would really stand out from my competition and other events. So I made a welcome video where I essentially introduced myself, my business, and what the class is. And then I formally invited them to come and join me in the kitchen right at the top of the page, first thing they saw. I also got my website up and running, and I have a mailing list officially, which is super exciting. I've sent a newsletter. I also launched my Facebook and Instagram on January 1st, and I have about 250 followers on both accounts. I've also been using my social media to connect directly with my customers through community and foodie groups. I know that my content creation is super important because I am an online business and a food business. People love looking at pictures of food. So I'm really going to be focusing on streamlining my content creation, my blog posts, and my newsletters over the next 9 months. And speaking of the next 9 months, let's look at some financials and projections and plans. So, as you guys can see, I am starting from ground zero financially, but quarter after quarter, I'm growing and slowly reinvesting in my business. Because I'm online, I have a low variable expense, and the fixed costs are only this high because it reflects the fact that I'm actually able to pay myself a salary for the classes that I teach. Um, I'm also planning on bringing on an assistant or the third or fourth quarter just to run tech backup. I have a degree in visual and media arts, film and photography, so I know how to run the equipment and get it set up. But when I'm actually cooking, I want to be able to focus on that. And if people have questions or something goes wrong, just some tech backup would be pretty wonderful. I'm also going to point out the dip in the third quarter of 2022. That's just because it's summer. I'm not going to be teaching as much. And my sister's getting married in Scotland, so I'll be in the Highlands eating haggis for a few weeks and unable to teach. Point is, slow and steady growth that is profitable and cost effective. So how do we get there? This is a breakdown of my class growth over the next 4 to 5 years. As I said, I'm on the ground level here. I'm going to be spending the majority of the next year really getting to know my customers, building my brand, and laying the groundwork for my classes. It's great because my classes are so scalable, which means the more outlines and classes I put together in this foundation phase, the easier it's going to be for me to run more classes as the demand increases. I'm in this for the long haul. Like, this is it for me. I want to teach people about food and how to cook and just get connected with people and falling back in love with being in the kitchen. Like, that's what I'm here for. And that's what my career is going to be. And I'm excited to start growing that. Um, Originally, I was only going to be focusing on public and collaboration classes, but I've been approached about private, homeowners associations, and corporate classes. So I've decided to start exploring those avenues. And actually, literally right before the presentation, I booked a library class. So I'm also going to, I guess, be adding those to the list and seeing where those take me as well. I do want to point out my collaboration classes. I know they are not the biggest money income bringers, but the reason they're so important, especially in this first year, is I'm going to work with local Lowell businesses and we can really promote each other. And as I'm growing and really trying to reach my customers, it's going to give me access to their mailing list, which is going to be an audience that I wouldn't have access to otherwise. So that's really exciting. And speaking of working in my community, let's talk about community impact. I love Lowell. I'm obsessed with it. I've lived a lot of places in my life, and this is the first place I've ever felt like home. So as I said, I'm going to be doing those collaboration classes. I'm also working with Marte Media on a project that's going to focus on telling the stories of local restaurants and food establishments in Lowell. And I want to work with Project Learn and Mill City Grows on an after-school food education program, whether it's through the school itself or nonprofits like the Boys and Girls Club, Just String, Girls Inc. I really want to bring in that to the kids. Beyond that, I am 6 years recovered from a 10-year battle with an eating disorder, and I'm going to be a voice for eating disorder recovery and mental health. Which brings me to my ask. Time for me to ask something of you. I have no money to invest in my business, which won't deter me, but if you could help me with fulfilling my $5,000 ask, it would make a world of difference for my business growth and development. I am an online school that focuses on food, so audio and video quality, along with having the products and the tools to do content creation, are really important. You can see the photo I have on my slide of all that snazzy equipment I was able to borrow. That's pretty much the setup that I need, along with photography, staging supplies, printer, a computer. With the computer comes software to streamline my content creation, just all of that fun stuff. So it would be extraordinarily beneficial to me and really help me get off the ground running and creating more and growing my business that much faster. I have a non-monetary ask. Follow me, share my story, Chef Kelcy on social media, chefkelcy.com. And if you're a company looking for an amazing morale boosting event, hit me up. I promise it will be delicious. Finally, thank you to literally everyone, my mentors, Elaine, Naomi, and Lisa. I wouldn't be here without you. My cohort, they say being an entrepreneur is lonely. I've never felt alone because I know that we're all here with each other. And Liana, Will, Ren, Sofan, the entire EforAll program, you took this little seed of an idea, helped it sprout, and now I get to watch it grow. So thank you. Oh, and I'm ready for questions.
Well done.
Thank you, Kelcy.
Yay, fantastic.
Hey, now
Awesome job.
guys.
Oh, good.
Yay! All right, judges.
Well, I have to say that it's incredibly cruel of Ren and Leanna, after some of us have barely had dinner and maybe not at all at 8 o'clock, to throw Chef Kelcy at us. So
Should I put up some food photography photos, or would that just be awful?
that won't work.
Only if you want to see us all drooling.
Congratulations on a very professional and enthusiastic presentation.
Thank you.
One of the things I noticed as you looked at scaling up, say, as you get to the 4th and 5th year, you're doing a combination of almost 100 events and classes. What ideas do you have about bringing other people in and scaling up in terms of personnel, or is this something you think you can do on your own?
Yeah, excellent question. So when I was really looking at scaling, one of the things that I was thinking about was the fact that, like, right now, this is just me. I don't have plans to bring in anybody else beyond, help with things like websites and, the video backup, stuff like that. So I looked at it as, well, how many classes do I have to do in a week? And the answer is 3 classes in a week. And that's really not a lot, especially when at that point, I'm going to have my classes outlined. They're really kind of quick and easy. I know them like the back of my hand. And while it might seem like a lot of classes, it's really quite manageable.
Okay.
How many people can you have in a class, Kelcy?
Great. So originally I thought 12. So for me, the thing that was so important is community and like feeling like we're all cooking together. Like, I think that food and cooking is something that you do as an act of love and something that should be shared. And I really wanted to be able to have that come through in my classes. So I wanted to limit what I was doing. So when I did my class, I did 12 and it was extraordinary. And I also kind of helped me realize I can actually take this up to 15. So I'm doing a homeowners association class next month and I'm capping it at 15. I'm going to be doing another class in April. I haven't started doing all the stuff for it yet. I'm going to try that one at 15 as well. There's some different types of classes that I do though. So like the collaboration classes, those are kind of a different format. Those are more of like a cook along versus a cooking class. And I can define the difference for you if you guys like. So a cook along is, think of it as like watching someone cooking and you're doing it with them. And if you have a question, you can kind of ask, but for the most part, it's like watching a cooking show, but you can interact with them. The cooking class is different. It's very much like one-on-one. We're all talking together. We're interacting together. I'm giving you a demo and then you're watching what I'm doing and then I'm watching you. I'm helping you. It's very much like you're having someone there to do this with you. You're not alone versus going along with it. So, the Red Antler Apothecary, I'm going to be working with them on doing a vanilla bean workshop. And that's something that's going to be a cook along, and I can host up to 100 people on that, which is really exciting. And then I haven't decided about corporate classes. That's really up to the corporations and how many people they need. But for the public classes, it's 15.
Okay. And so you do it, I'm curious because over the holidays, I was actually looking for something like this for my son out in Seattle. And so the timing of it, a local person here, I was actually trying to find something that my husband and I, my son and his girlfriend and my daughter and her boyfriend could all do together, where 4 of us are here on the East Coast and the other 2 are out on the West Coast. I wasn't able to find anything, unfortunately, just because of the timing of it all. Maybe I should have called you, right?
Yeah.
My mistake.
Yeah.
But I noticed when I was trying to find things that not everybody did it by the number of people per class. Often they did it by the kitchen. I wondered if you looked at that kind of pricing at all when you were looking at this. So in other words, you might have 4 people in a kitchen, right? Or even 6 people in a kitchen, or you might have 1, right? And so,
So I think I misspoke when I said people. To me, people is a device. I shouldn't
Okay.
consider people devices, but I do.
Okay.
At least in this format. So I do it per device. What I did for my Valentine's Day class is I am aware of the fact, like, when you have a certain number of people in a room cooking, it's a lot, right? I had a private class actually with Steve from Peak Too Early, and there were 10 of them cooking and me, and they were all in one room. And then I had, which was amazing, but I can't have a group of 10 people in my public class and they only pay one price.
Right.
So the way that I do it is it's per device up to 2 people, but I'll allow 4. Like if 4 people show up, that's not really a big deal. It's more to keep people from doing this big group thing and then being like, we're going to pay $40. They're going to be 8 of us. So I have thought of that. Yes, it's per device, not person.
Okay, got it. And
Kelcy, I have a quick question.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your presentation and the energy that you brought to tonight. I have a question. So you grew most of your customer base online. How are you hoping to continue that momentum? I'm thinking even when we hopefully safely get out of this pandemic, I wonder if there will be a shift or an opportunity to go in person. Have you considered that? Would you share with us?
Yeah. So there's a couple things about this one. So I did grow most of my people online. I also am very active in the Lowell community, and I really used that to kind of like help streamline what I was doing. People know who I am because I've done these before. So it was really like getting that word of mouth out there. I really do love doing in-person classes, but I had to really think about this one, and it's actually impossible to know, 1, how long it's going to take for us to get back to something like that, and 2, how long is it going to be until people are comfortable going into a kitchen with people they don't know and cooking food and sitting down and eating a meal. So in 2-3 years, if that's something that's coming back, I am so willing to put in a little bit of a pivot and go there and like start exploring that, because I love the idea of cooking in person and like having that. But right now it just doesn't seem feasible without knowing what the market is going to look like.
Thank you so much. That's a great answer. And I appreciate you sharing the presentation. I also would comment that your personal story is a great opportunity to share if you feel comfortable. Of course, never put your pain out there if you're not comfortable for it.
Oh, are you talking about my eating disorder?
Yeah, and you sharing about you wanting to focus on mental health. I think that's a very positive message, and I certainly would love to see that incorporated more. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if I can just touch on that a little bit. So this past week was Eating Disorder Awareness Week, and it was the first time I spoke publicly about it. And it was very terrifying, but also extraordinary and empowering. And I've done a lot of thinking about how I can continue speaking about it and being a voice. And I will share with you guys, will be the first to know about it. I'm going to be doing the ABCs of my ED, which is eating disorder. And I've gone through and I've done every letter of the alphabet and a word associated with me and my journey with my eating disorder. And I'm going to be doing 1-minute videos talking about that word and how it relates to my eating disorder and posting it for social media. And eventually I hope that I can write about it. And, it's something that I would love to put into newspapers, magazines, whatever. Like I think that people don't talk about it enough. And I think it's really, really important. Specifically for me, like I really went through a journey with food, and the fact that I had this toxic relationship despite my love, and then was able to turn it around. And now I'm making a career out of educating people about food is just really important to me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing that with us tonight.
Yeah, that's terrific. Kelcy, would the in-person classes, if you go that direction, have similar cost structure as the online classes for you?
No, so
would
that
it
would
significantly change things?
Yes. So the in-person classes are priced differently. So the way that works is it's actually priced, you have to look at it per person in terms of the cost of ingredients. So when you are providing the ingredients, now people buy their own food, right? So I don't have to worry about that, which is what keeps my variable costs so low. But if and when I go into in-person classes, that's going to raise the cost of my classes. I also use high quality ingredients. So obviously my customer segment is going to be someone who appreciates the seasonality and the farms and things like that. But it would raise my cost structure along with things like insurance and, wherever it is I'm going to be doing the classes. So, and I already have ideas about where I would want to do those and how I could kind of make it happen. I just haven't explored it yet since it seems like such a far off possibility.
Mhm.
And the other thing is to, beyond that, I would love to do in-person classes in people's homes. Like I think an in-person dinner party, like I come over and I have like an assistant and I bring all of the food and we do just this awesome cooking dinner party and eat amazing food and listen to music and drink wine. Like it's a whole event, right? And I think it's great and I would love to do it one day in a COVID safe world where people feel like it is okay.